My name is Hawona, and I'm an art curator, a poet, and a mom. When I'm writing, it's almost a sort of a semi-trance that I'm in. I can be in a completely noisy space and I don't hear anything except for the words that are coming to me. I would love to be able to say that Nikki was your typical 6-year-old boy, but he was anything but typical. He was actually a pretty extraordinary kid. He played soccer and he was really good at it. He played violin, he played piano, he played guitar, and these were not things that we made him do as parents. These were things that he had seen, and he was hungry for the chance to have these experiences, and so he wanted to do them. And I was saying things like, slow down, and he was saying, no, this is really fun. He had an incredible sense of humor that sometimes would get him in trouble, because when he was supposed to be being serious, he could always find the humor in supposed to be being serious. He wrote, and even though he was 6 years old and it was hard to read his handwriting, he was really good at it. And it was interesting the way that he, like his mama, loved words and loved manipulating words. I remember very clearly, and will probably never ever forget, the moment that I knew that my son had died. And I can remember sitting there with the social worker from the hospital. And it almost felt like an otherworld experience, because I was probably in shock. I had no idea what to do, and she was very kindly and gently holding my hand and taking me through this process. And then she said to me, one of the questions was, would you be interested in organ donation? And I knew immediately that it was the right thing to do. My father is alive today because of a kidney transplant that he had. And I remember thinking, if Nikki was anything, he was generous. And so if he was in a position to give something to someone else, he would always say yes, he would give it. But I also knew that I wasn't the only person involved in making this decision. And so in order to do it, we needed to talk to our family and make the decision as a family. And it took some time, hours to sit and to figure this out before we were able to make the decision. But today, it is one of the things that came out of that extremely dark moment that I think we are most proud of, that we were able to figure it out and to say yes at a time when we really just kind of wanted to curl up and give up and not think about anything. But we were already, even in that moment, kind of thinking about the lessons that he had taught us with his life, and how it was so important that the legacy that was his journey would be one that would be full of kindness and generosity. So that was really important to us. Despite the fact that I am a writer, despite the fact that I am a creative person, my first instinct was to avoid telling that story. My mind had decided that if I didn't write about it, perhaps it would mean that it didn't happen. And I stayed that way for a long time. And then came my muse. And she said, as she often does, because she has these moments where she's quite the contrarian, I think the way to deal with this is to open up your heart and just write. The very first time I tried to write about the loss of my son, all I could write was, I wish it had rained. That was it on the paper, because I thought, then he wouldn't have gone to play, then he wouldn't have died. But behind that were some pretty incredible moments, and the words just started to flow, and I think within a matter of hours I had written almost a half dozen solid pieces about him. It has really helped me as a mother to deal with a loss, but it has also helped me as a writer to recognize the role that the arts can play in healing. And it has led me to write poetry about things that I never thought I could write poetry about before, about grief, about loss, about the moment when I made the decision to donate my son's organs. I never thought I could write about that because those seemed like things that didn't fit with the creative journey that you're supposed to be on. But when I opened my heart, just like my muse said, and just let it flow, I discovered that there is incredible connectivity in sharing those types of experiences with the world, and to help other families that were grieving as well to begin to understand that it doesn't have to be prescribed for you how you grieve, how you live your life afterwards. You can actually open your heart and you can let it flow.